Okay, so we're online again. This is Conrad Travis David. Thank you for coming to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my home here in South Africa. Based on all the great festivities that are taking place around the world today, this weekend, it being the last day of August, 31st of August, it's just 2 p.m. this afternoon. I would like to read from you from the Holy Bible. This is just a continuation of the technology age and ensuring that the message is remembered long before it is forgotten. And besides the point, Deuteronomy 28 is something also known in the Jewish culture. It is the blessing as well as it is the curse. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope you understand, dissect each verse that gets mentioned on you. I'm purely going to be reading this word. And let's get into it. And it shall, from chapter 28, I'm reading from the King James Bible. Chapter 28. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently into the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of thy God. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, and the increase of thy kin, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. Blessed shalt thou be when thou comes in, and blessed thou shalt be when thou goes out. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways. The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest that hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, and in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasures, the heaven to give the rain unto the land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath, if that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which he command thee this day, to observe and to do them. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. What it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed be in thy basket and in thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kin and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursings, vexings, and rebuke in all that settest thine hand unto do. Destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me, which is God. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall see thee with a consumption and with a fever, and with the inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting. The Lord shall smite thee with consumption, and with fever, and with inflammation, and with extreme burning, and with the sword, blasting with the mildew, and they shall perish, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven, this is over thy head, shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder, and the dusts from heaven shall come down upon thee, until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go one way against thee, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed unto all the kingdoms of the earth. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst be healed. The Lord shall smite thee. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in the darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall serve thee. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thy ass shall be violently taken away before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Daughters shall be given unto people, and thine eyes shall look, and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. The fruit of thy land and all their labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away. So that thou shalt be mad for a sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. The Lord shall smite thee in their knees and the legs with a with a sore botch that cannot be healed. From the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head, the Lord shall bring thee, and thy king which thou shalt set over thee unto the nation which neither nor thy fathers have known. And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among nations, whither the Lord shall lead them. Thou shalt carry much seed into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all the coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast its fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go unto captivity, and the trees and fruit of their land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee, be very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt not be the tail. Moreover, verse 44 again, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be open unto thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from an end of the earth, as swift as the eagle fleeth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed. Which also shall not leave thee, either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kin, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in thy gates. Unto thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou didst trust throughout all thy land. He shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all the land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thy own body, the flesh of thy sons, and thy daughters, which the Lord thy God hath given thee in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward his wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he had nothing left in the siege and in the straitness wherein thine enemy shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot among the group for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be toward the husband of her bosom, and toward a son, and toward a daughter, and among her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear. Shall eat them for what of all things, secretly in the siege of straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear the glorious and fearful name of the Lord thy God, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continence, and sore sicknesses, and of long continence. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in numbers, whereas the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldst not obey the voice of thy God. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you, to do you good and to multiply you, so that the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you, and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked up from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And they shall serve other gods, which neither thou nor their fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee their trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. And the life shall hang in the doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have no assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God even if thou shalt say, would God it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again, with ships by the way whereof I speak unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondwoman, and no man shall buy you. That is the end of Deuteronomy chapter 28. 29 continue shortly.